Hello and good afternoon, everybody. My name's Kirsten, and I will take you through today's webinar. Welcome to the webinar, Bullhorn Best Practices. What are the highest growth companies doing with Bullhorn? If you have any questions today during the webinar, I will keep an eye on them and we'll go through them at the end of the webinar. And if we don't get to all of them, we'll probably just send you an email and answer your questions that way. The whole webinar will be recorded from beginning to end, and it will take around 30 to 45 minutes, including questions. So if you need to drop out halfway through, you can do so. You'll get the recording anyways, and you can share this with your colleagues as well. So just a little bit about Kylo. Kylo are your Bullhorn experts and have years of experience working with and providing solutions for recruiters. And our goal is to help our clients optimize Bullhorn and to drive their business forward. And we do this through training, consulting, implementations of more than 23 apps that are specifically built for Bullhorn only. Now, on to today's speakers. We've got Raymond Penny, Joe Tanner, and Martin Wishart. And Raymond, it's on to you now. I'll leave you to it.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. It's a pleasure to be speaking to you all again, and I promise not to mention the G word that we did quite a number of webinars about earlier in the year. So I'm glad we've all got over that. My name's Raymond Penny. I'm the founder and director at Kylo Partners, and I'll be leading today's webinar. And also we've got Joe. Joe, who are you?
Hi, I'm a part of the project delivery team at Kylo Partners as an implementation consultant. I help our customers and Bullhorn's customers to understand how to make best use of Bullhorn, whether that's consultancy, training, or performing configuration on behalf of customers.
Fantastic. And I'm also proud to have Martin with us today. Martin, who are you?
Hi, everyone. So Martin, I'm the team leader for product sales. So I look after all of the apps and integrations that Kylo have built for Bullhorn as essentially pre-built solutions for requirements you might need.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So today we're going to be looking at a new topic, and it is best practices in high growth companies. And what we've done is we've broken that down into 4 parts. And the 4 parts are looking at the technology environment. We're going to look at process and measurement. We're going to look at some areas where you can just work smart and how you can use Bullhorn to work really smart. And then at the end, we'll look at some integrations and some partners. Now, the next slide is, I hope that your desk looks something like this. What we see for the people who are the high growth companies, they've really invested in making their technology easy to use, easy to interact with, and pleasurable to be with. Now, that might be double screens. We've got some people that we've seen that have got 3 screens. Almost everyone is now running off wireless headsets, and they are either SMSing, or they're WhatsApping, or they're emailing, and they're communicating from their desk. Now, that's either via the WhatsApp desktop app or SMS directly from there, but it's all in one place. So I think as a technology environment, I think it's important that people want to be at their workstation, or if they're on a call, they're able to walk around the room. And I know that Joe's a big advocate of walking around the room with his headset on, and that makes the most of it. So I'd say, firstly, have a look at what your technology looks like and make it somewhere that people want to be. Which moves us on to probably the biggest area, which is process and measurement. Of the companies we work with who have shown highest growth, they train a lot. They train, they remind, and everyone in the business will understand the process, because the process they work with is really, really easy. They'll have taken all of the admin or all of the areas that are difficult and made that really quite straightforward, and allowed the ability for the consultant or the manager have a method by which they self-measure, whether that's through the dashboards that you've got within Bullhorn, whether it's through league tables that we see people with either through Canvas or some of the other partner products, but they have an ability for the consultant to measure themselves and know how well they're doing. And they all speak a common language so that they all know what a project manager is, they all know what a contract job is, and they are able to talk to people in a common language and use the systems in the same way. And Joe's going to touch on that a little bit later about how people use codes or tags and skills within Bullhorn and make them very, very easy to use and easy to share. Another common area within high growth companies is data quality. They have a desire to ensure that what they've identified as important data is captured at all stages in that easy process that people have been trained on. And they'll do that either through validations or through automations, or some people have, I've called them the data police, but they have either people in the organization who check on the data quality, or each consultant within each team polices each other. And data quality, along with a good process, along with a common language, really allows people to be very, very, very productive in their use of Bullhorn, in their process of going from speaking to a candidate, taking on a job, getting a CV sent, through to doing the admin and making sure that the paperwork gets out there. So the areas that we see that become ingrained are things that just become normal. They just become normal because everyone knows the process. Now, those are areas that I think if we hand over to Joe, Joe's going to take us through some of those areas and how they can be used in Bullhorn. So, Joe, I think we're going to change.
Sounds good. Thanks, Raymond. And if I can just grab the screen, we're going to run through a few areas in Bullhorn where we can start to see some of this kind of ease of use in action. So first piece I'm going to talk about here is some of the dashboards that are available in Bullhorn. Now, there are also lots of great marketplace apps and Bullhorn Canvas. So there really is so much that you're able to do from a reporting perspective. But there's also a lot in terms of the dashboards that are built as standard or natively in Bullhorn that I really like. So the first here is My Activity, where we're able to set up activity goals, or you might refer to them as KPI targets, that just allow me at a glance to say, how am I doing with my goals for this week? So I can see, for example, here, I'm ahead of my target for my sourcing calls, but I'm a little bit behind on my goal for CV sends. So I probably need to go back and review some of these candidates that I've spoken to and decide which are going to be the CVs that I put forward to for the open roles in order to make sure that I'm hitting all of those activity targets and seeing all of those dashboards go green. Another example is the response times. Now, some of the data within our demo system is a little bit all over the place, so you'd probably be hoping to see a bit of a quicker turnaround than 52 days to create a shortlist. But this dashboard is particularly powerful if you have any SLAs with clients, because we can go to configure the dashboard card and we can say that we're looking to see what our response times look like for that particular client. This could even be something that you take a screenshot out of and paste into a PowerPoint presentation for your next review meeting, or the consultant could even take their laptop to the next meeting and show the data in Bullhorn in real time. So I think this is a great way of having people focused on those key metrics and making sure that they're aligning well either with SLAs with a client or kind of your internal SLAs and best practices. And the final dashboard that I'm going to call out here is the vacancy or jobs without coverage. Again, if I go into the configure option and just explain a little bit what we're looking at here, this allows me to pick a part or a stage rather in the vacancy or job life cycle and say, show me any jobs where I've not reached that stage. So I might say, right, let's have a look at any vacancies where we currently don't have any interviews, and I might also just drag and expand this to be able to see that in a little bit more detail. And what I love about this card is that it's actionable. So if I select the month, it will tell me what those vacancies are, and then I can click through from the dashboard into that vacancy and establish, okay, we've got some people on the shortlist, but we haven't hit any of those later stages. Another way that I often highlight that people can use this during training is you can add multiple versions of the same card. So I might call this one vacancies without interviews, but then I might also add the card in for a second time. And then, for example, let's just drag this guy down here and then say that this is maybe our vacancies without CVs, and I could do a third that also includes vacancies without shortlists. So we can think of this almost as my like to-do list. These are my jobs that are requiring action. So I can see here, right, we've got some jobs that were added last month. They currently don't have any CVs sent. So I can click through and make sure that I follow up with any of those shortlisted candidates and get some CVs out so we can start to see some action there. So that's kind of the first topic that I was going to talk around today, which is the dashboards. The next area is looking at some of the functions around searching and hot lists. So what I really advise is that the vast majority of recruitment businesses are going to be working in some kind of vertical market or some kind of a niche. So you're probably going to have maybe a handful of searches that consultants within the various teams and the various functions are running again and again. So what you can do here is save this search as a favorite. So here I've got one for clinical operations line managers, and you can run that at a regular interval, maybe weekly, maybe every couple of days. And that's going to tell me, do I have any candidates that have been added to the database that match that search criteria? What I think is great, particularly if you're a high growth business that are hiring people that are newer to the industry, is these favorites can be created by a team manager or a team leader and then actually given to the consultants. So they just need to run them in order to see the new candidates. Now, if I take a look at this candidate's record, what I also want to do here is just have a quick kind of talk about this point that Raymond was mentioning around sort of making Bullhorn speak your language. So we can see here under our skills and experience section that this candidate, Amy, has been categorized as somebody with experience of clinical operations, and her kind of primary role at the moment is as a line manager. One of the things that we work a lot with companies that are moving on to Bullhorn or companies that are doing ad hoc consulting is making sure that they tidy up that skills and category list so that it speaks the same language as people do on the sales floor. That might mean merging some existing codes or adding some new codes in as you move into new markets, but making sure that the database speaks the language that the consultants do is really going to help to drive that usage and drive that adoption. Now, at this point, what I might do, have a quick call with Amy, look at some of the kind of historic jobs she's been shortlisted against. But at this point, what I'm going to do is add her to my hot list. So hot lists are a great way of saving search results. So in this case, I've got myself a clinical operations line manager's hot list, and I'm going to add Amy's profile to it. So this is a great way of keeping track of your, and this is my hot list here. So what we can see here is, as well as having a number of candidates on that hot list, So if I speak to a new client that has a requirement, a vacancy for a line manager, I've got 15 candidates that I can reach out to straight away. Or in this context, I've also got 6 hiring managers that I've worked with previously or that I've spoken to during my kind of business development activities that I know are looking for or potentially are interested in seeing CVs for clinical operations line managers. So at this point, and I'm going to hand over to Martin in a second to explain how we do this, but I could then send Amy's CV out to those 6 hiring managers, those 6 client contacts on my hot list as somebody that I'm working with a new candidate. You've expressed an interest in this profile of skills and experience before. Is this somebody that you'd like to know more about? So I think hot lists are often something that are used from a candidate perspective, but I think that there's a lot of power also in listing client contacts and even jobs so that you're kind of storing everything in one place and could be sending out to market. So just to kind of recap, the areas that we've looked at are the dashboards. We've also looked at our favorite saved searches. We've had a quick chat about skills and categories, and then finally how we can use hot lists as a way of storing information about candidates, contacts and vacancies. So the next step in the process is for me to hand over to Martin. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Joe. If I could get the screen. Can confirm you can see my screen? Should be able to see the candidate record.
All good.
Brilliant. So just to kind of follow on from what Joe's saying there, we're going to demonstrate how with one of the Kylo products called Publish, we can make it nice and easy for you to present Amy, in this instance, out to those 6 contacts that Joe's found within his hot list. So you'll notice on the record here at the top, we have this tab called Publish Documents. So Publish is a tool that we've built to kind of say make it easier for you to send CVs to your clients. But rather than it being sent as a file attachment in an email, we're going to send it as a link within the email, so that when your client receives the link and your clients interact with that link, you as the sender of that CV from inside Bullhorn will be notified every time somebody looks at it. So in the background here, I've used the Kylo CV formatter to kind of touch on Raymond's easy paperwork comment earlier. We can use the Kylo CV formatter to format the candidate CV nicely, and that'll be stored in the Files tab up here. We can then press the New button at the right-hand corner and choose the published template we want to create. So when I choose my template here, what this will do is define the email that we're sending. That can all be built within the template. And also once the client clicks on the link, that will take them to a web page. And we can put some configuration into the template that, I guess, defines some items on that page, logos and other things that will become clear in a second. So now what we want to do is choose the candidate's file. So I'm going to choose this nice formatted CV down here. And the next stage is to press create. So currently I've taken a docx file here, but when I press create, what actually happens in the background is we convert that file from a docx or PDF or whatever it may be into an image. Because when the client clicks on the link and takes them to the web page, the CV will then be an image that is visible within that page. So here, the file is ready to now send out. So we select it on the left-hand side. We can now choose this little pencil to add some configuration to the send out. So when I click into here, we can change the title of it if you want, but we can also start now applying some rules to the link that's been sent. So on this line here, I can define the number of times it's clicked. You can remove it so it's not relevant, or you can add in a number. That just means that if somebody clicks a link for the 16th time, it will expire. This defaults to being on, email notifications, and I recommend it always being on. As I said, that means that when somebody clicks on the link, you as the sender will receive a notification via email telling you who has clicked on what. And further to the kind of click limit at the top here, we can also put an expiry date on as well. So sending it out today, they have until the 7th of January to get back to me. And I think this is really quite a clever little thing, because what it means is that you, as a sender of a file of personal information about this candidate, you're not just sending it as a file that could live in somebody's inbox forever. You have control over it, and you can define or decide when that disappears. So now we can save the configuration and come to add our recipients in. And this is where Joe's hot list comes into play. So you do have the option up here at the top to type in 1 or 2 people, but what I'm going to do here in this scenario is utilize the hot list that Joe's created, and I can just search for that here and add them in. You'll notice that because I've selected contacts, it's picked out the 6 contacts from within that list Joe created, and I can then just add them in. And then if I kind of go down to the bottom of the screen here, we can see that I have 6 people now in my draft, and we can expand that if you want to kind of see exactly who those people are. But the next stage from here is to press this email button, and this will select the email everybody in the draft. And it will now pull you through to the Kylo mail screen, where you can have a preview of the email prior to sending out. So we're sending it to 6 people, and everyone's going to receive it as if they're the only person receiving it. So we're able to pull in the candidate's, the contact's name here, or the recipient's name. And then we've got a little bit of email body here with the link that they click on, and we can also kind of apply a nice signature in for you as well. So the next stage is to simply hit the send button at the bottom, and you'll get a little notification at the top telling it's complete. And I'm now going to turn into a client. If I click into the client's inbox, and they receive the email. So just for purposes of this, I'm actually just going to click on a couple of them just to show you what happens in the background as a recruiter. So if I click on these 3 just now, and if I now bring up this email, what you'll notice is instantly as I'm clicking it, I'm now receiving notifications out of a recruiter telling me that this client has just viewed the CV I've sent them for this candidate. And these are now links that will take me straight back to the record in Bullhorn. So the notifications are instant. If we come back out of here now, from a client's perspective, this is how they will then receive the CV. So they'll receive it as an image in the web page here, so they can preview it, they can look through. But what they can also do in the top right-hand corner here is open up this little feedback box, and they can write any notes or comments that they have about the candidate, about the CV. And then they've got the very quick and easy way of responding to you by either hitting the green button or the red button. So hit the green button, that's going to tell me that the client's interested in this candidate. And now, again, as before, I will immediately receive a notification telling me that Jim Bob has just liked the document for this candidate. And the wording in here can be changed, of course. This is just a template example. And then any comments that's in that feedback box will come in here as well. So that's the send out process within Publish. Now, so another little bit I do want to show you as well, just before I move on to the next stage, is if I come back into Bullhorn and go into my Publish Documents tab, you will now have a list or a kind of trail of everything you've sent. But I can see here that I've sent this to 6 people. If I want a really quick insight to see, what's been happening here, I can just quickly hit the silhouette, and it'll give me a little breakdown of the status of each person. So I can see that I still currently have 3 people in my sent items. So that implies to me, or tells me, that these 3 people have not clicked the link, they've done nothing. However, I have 2 people here who have viewed the candidate but not responded to me yet. And I have this 1 person who has responded positively, telling me that they're interested. So it gives you a little bit of a list and almost a target list created for you there to give you an idea of who you want to contact first of all. So that is kind of one use case for Publish when it comes to sending out CVs to your clients. So the other aspect of what we've got here and what Raymond mentioned is about data quality and making it easier, I guess, for you guys to bring data into Bullhorn. With Publish, we've also built in the facility for you to be able to send a form to a candidate and have that candidate populate a selection of fields. But then not only will they be able to populate fields, once they complete the form, those fields will then write back into Bullhorn to update the record for you, taking out that manual element that nobody really likes when it comes to having to update a record manually. So this is a candidate I have had on my database for quite some time. As you can see down here, they were added in 2016. So I might want to just check in with them and get them to update some data, update some information for me. So the things I want to just point out is here, as you can see, I've got the job title's blank currently. You know, his address is United States, and there's some missing information about the salary. So again, to action the form, similar process, we come to publish documents. You'll notice in this candidate, I have a lot more files because this is one I use a bit more regularly. So you can get a good kind of historic breakdown of what you've sent to the candidate and what you've sent from this record to other people. I want to send out a new form to get this candidate to update their record. And same as before, we press new, press the template, and we now have this example registration form. But when I select it here, you've got two options. I can press create like I've done before with the CV and go through a send out process. And I could in fact send this form to a hot list of candidates and have multiple candidates update their record for me. But however, I just want to send it to this one person. So because I'm on their record and I have their email address, I can just hit the send button. And that's going to take this form and send it off to my candidate to populate. So as before, I've come into my inbox. Candidate has the email. Hi Martin, could you please update the information we have for you? And the link is underneath here. So there we go. So what we've kind of configured, and in the background of publish, you guys would configure this form. You would define the information you want your candidate to populate, as you can see here, and then you can define the fields that this then writes back to. So I have a set bit of criteria I can kind of pre-populate, and then if I put in my job title, my notice period, and what my desired salary is. So you can put in some numbers here. Candidate has this kind of similar options as the client had previously. They can, of course, kind of see who sent it to them and ask any questions or put some feedback in here that they want. And if you don't want this there, we can actually remove that as well. And you'll notice that on this scenario, there's no red button. So the candidate just hits the green button to confirm they've completed the form. And same as before, there'll be some email notifications in the background, of course, telling you that the candidate has completed the form and telling you that the candidate has viewed the form. So you're keeping up to date by notification all the way through the process. And we go back to the candidate's record now. And if I come in here and just do a quick refresh, we will hopefully see that my record's been updated for me. So there we have it. So the job title's been updated. I have an address now for the candidate, and I can see that where he currently works, and he's got a quite extortionate desired annual salary as well. So that's a kind of quick run through of Publish for sending CVs, and then also the aspect of sending forms through Publish.
Thank you very much, Martin. That was excellent. So just to look back, so we've spoken about process and measurement, and I think Joe's given us some great tips on what to do within Bullhorn. Particularly clever how to use hot lists and favorites, and train people to use favorites would be a lot of my advice. But the other thing that we see high growth companies doing, they've really embraced the other integrations or partners within Bullhorn. And I'm not going to call them out by name because many partners exist, but the areas that people have done is they've made it easier to pick up the telephone, whether that's the telephone on your desk through dialing off screen or by using apps that connect to Bullhorn on your mobile. They've made the ability to post jobs to your website or see activity on candidates or contacts on your website appear in the tabs within Bullhorn. It is also something that works great. Really easily, quickly post out to job boards, track emails, send emails, as Martin's shown there, or using Canvas or the other reporting partners to provide weekly, monthly trending reports that they can use that help take the business and drive it forward against the metrics they've set. People who've managed to cut back on their requirements for capturing paperwork by using Bullhorn onboarding or having a onboarding tool. More and more people were saying going down electronic signatures. And when I spoke about being easy to deal with paperwork, I sign things very quickly. If I get it electronically, I sign things very slowly when someone encourages me to print it out because I've got to find a printer. I sign it with a pen because I've got to find a pen. Scan it and send it back to them. That really slows it down. And we're going to be doing some work around electronic signatures to determine how much quicker they are. People who've got the integrations with timesheet products and through to their finance systems have made it easier for their finance teams to get invoices out the door or make sure that their contractors are being paid. And then more laterally, the ability to see how a contact or a candidate has interacted with your brand, whether it's through the marketing you've sent or through your website or through your social feeds. That being brought to either the candidate or the contact record within Bullhorn. So that's what we see, and as we build out on this, these webinars, which we'll bring in some of the other marketplace partners to speak about some of the areas where they've seen their clients grow substantially on the basis of some of these areas. So that's what we're hoping to do. But I hope that has worked. If you at all were interested in Kylo Publish, then there's Martin's details. Kirsten, have we had any questions, or has it all been very easy and for either Joe, Martin, or myself?
Yes, of course, we have some questions. So for everybody that's coming to the webinar a bit later, we will have a video available, and you'll get the recording. But for any other questions, I got one question that was, I think, around publish. So does the update create a note for GDPR purposes? So Martin, maybe can you explain something about that?
We do actually have a facility. I didn't actually demonstrate it today, but we do have a process built within Publish where you can send a publish consent or a publish data policy to somebody. I'm sorry, a GDPR policy to somebody. Have them use the red or green button as a response, and then yes, that can write back to a field in Bullhorn to store that.
So he has also sort of, just for additional information, so this is mainly when sending the update form out. So publish form, sending it out for GDPR purposes. I think that's what we're aiming to see.
It's another template type that that does some other things. Today we concentrated on making money. I think in some of the other sessions, if you look back on some of our webinars in April, May, June, you'll be able to see, and if not, get in contact with Martin, and Martin will
if you want to send me an email, whoever asked the question, I can actually send you a little video recording of that process and how it can work for sending out GDPR type things, and also how it interacts with the consent tab in Bullhorn as well as fields on the candidate's record.
Perfect. So another question is, when expiry dates are set, is the recipient warned?
The recipient does not know about that, no.
Okay. One other question is, I think this is more of a joke question. Can saved searches be shared as well?
Yeah, Kirsten, I can get this one. So short answer is yes. When you're saving your favorite searches and your hot lists, you can say if they're either private, which means that only that user can see them, or if they're public, which means that they're viewable to other users within your Bullhorn environment.
And one of the areas, just to pick up on that, one of the areas where we see some great use of shared searches or shared lists is when you've made a placement, whether it's a contract placement or a permanent placement, and you've submitted them to your finance team or your manager to approve, rather than filling in a form and sending it, that the favorite list is there and it's maybe used by your finance team or your manager, And if there's anything on that list, they just run the favorite, they see what's there, and they action from that list. We've seen people take many steps out of the process by using that. So I think it's another great place to use shared searches.
Great. So I'm gonna do just 2 more questions, I think. So one of the questions is, so someone saw the image in a candidate record earlier. So how do I add an image to a contact record?
So that image you're seeing there is another one of the Kylo apps, which is called Headshots. So you need to, if you would like to learn more about that, you can contact myself and we can arrange that to be sorted out for you. But it can be added on to kind of any record actually that has a file step. So some clients have used it for the candidate, of course, the contact, but some also put it onto the company record if you want to apply the company logos into Bullhorn as well.
Perfect. Okay. So let's just do one more question. Let's see. So one of them was, so you send forms to candidates. Is that the only people you can? Are those the only people you can send forms to?
No, of course not. We can send forms to client contacts as well. But the clever aspect of being able to send something to a client contact is that if we were to action it to the client contact, we would also be able to write information back to the company fields that they work at or they're associated to. So you could maybe send something to the contact asking for, maybe some billing information or updated address details for the client, and have that automatically update into the company record, as well as collecting information about the client contact themselves.
Great. So there's some more questions I've got here, but I will make sure that you will get a response from our consultants on your questions about Bullhorn, questions about our apps. So don't worry, we'll get back to you about that. So for now, thank you guys so much for joining us in the webinar today. And if you have any questions, feel free to just contact us through the website or email Martin directly. Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so much, Raymond. And thank you so much, Martin, for joining me today. And everybody will get a recording very soon.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
Thanks all.
Bye now.
Cheers.